It's Monday night, and we're sharpening our takes. You're tuned into The Cut, hosted by Thomas Roth.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome into the newest edition of The Cut. I am Thomas Roth, and I am here with The Cut and my co-producer, Anthony Aquendo, and we're here to give you the takes you all are craving, whether it's current events, politics, pop culture, sports, entertainment, anything like that. We're here to foster a no-nonsense dialect, building a mutual trust between us. And today, we're going to be talking about that trust. And we're going to be talking about some future stuff. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about the past, too. So, the first thing I want to do, first and foremost, is to thank all you guys for tuning in with us the last couple years. It's been an absolute blast. It's been fun. I've learned a lot about politics. I didn't really think I would ever, but Anthony over here got me rocking and rolling on him, and it's become a very interesting ride, and it's something that I'm very thankful for, right? But last week, Anthony and I had a discussion after the show, and consequently that same night, I got like 2-3 text messages, and then my wife talked to me about it. You can tell that you're reading off of something, and let your energy flow. Let this happen. Let that happen. And I kind of started thinking about it a little bit, guys, and I just our mission statement is to foster a mutual trust through a no nonsense and conversation and honesty, right? Well, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I know very little compared to my co-host about politics, and I know that where this country's going and the podcast that we had been making wouldn't do you guys justice. It wouldn't build that mutual trust, because if a couple people can tell that I'm going through a teleprompter, then probably everyone can. So I was talking to Anthony, and we were kind of shooting the shit a little bit, and he said, "Bro, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Why don't you just go back to doing sports?" And I thought about that. I really thought about it for a little bit, and after talking with Anthony and seeing what we think the potential of something like that could be, we have decided that there is going to be a soft transition over the next few weeks, and in the distant future, The Cut is going to become a full-time sports broadcast tool. Something I'm really excited about. Anthony and I talked about sports a little bit on the show, but we never really got real into it. And I just have like a lot to say about different things with sports. And I think that to adhere to our mission statement and to make it so that I am being trustworthy and I am building a trust with you guys, we need to do it something that I can authentically be me in. And that is sports. So what is that going to look like? We are going to be doing a podcast once a week still, maybe more, but it will be a once a week thing. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over things that happened in the past week, maybe some reactions to some games, whether that be the NFL, college football, college basketball. Baseball will be right around the bend. Before we know it, pitchers and catchers report at the end of February in most cases. Golf, NBA basketball, WWE, UFC. I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about, that and so much that I have a little bit of a knowledge on, that I can be a little bit more authentic with you guys and give you the best version of me, because ultimately that's what we want to see. We don't want to tune in and see someone who's really not grasping the subject matter the best, right? And I think that you're going to notice that I have a much higher intelligence level with sports than I do pretty much any other topic. Maybe outside of like comic books, but I just don't want to do a comic book podcast. I think that would be a little too much for me to do because there's just so much to talk about there and so much rich history. But not only will we be like recapping sports, we're also going to do some fun shit. Like I'm going to introduce a betting segment where I'd make my picks for the week. You guys can take it or leave it there. But I do like to gamble, and I will be giving you my gambling picks. We'll probably track my record in certain sports over like the sport year, just to kind of see how I did. Fantasy sports are a big part of me too. So I'm probably going to throw out fantasy advice for fantasy football, fantasy baseball. We're a little late in the season for fantasy basketball, and I didn't play this year, so I probably won't be doing anything like that. But when it comes to golf, like fantasy golf, if you guys really want to make some money and do something cool, fantasy golf is the way to do it. And just, some other random stuff. Like Anthony and I kicked the idea around of maybe recording a round of golf and then editing it and putting it on the channel. Maybe getting some people who are athletes from the area to come in and speak. There is a wealth of knowledge in the area. Former players from this area that maybe went on to college to play. Maybe we can get some people in, it'd be a lot of fun, I think. And I think as we do this soft transition, I'll get a little bit more comfortable. And I'm really going to look forward to seeing you guys ride with us. And that's one of the big questions we just put in the chat. Are you guys going to be riding with us during the change? And as this change is happening, please let us know. Anthony and I are both on Facebook. The Cut is on Facebook. We would love to get some ideas from you guys, right? Like, what do you want to see if it is a sports podcast, which it is? But since this is going to be a sports podcast, what would you guys like to see? What would intrigue you? I think a lot of sports takes are opinion based, and that's just, this is all just going to be my opinion. I'm in no way an expert on any of this, but I am a very passionate sports fan. And tonight's episode, we're kind of going to be doing a soft ride on that. And we're going to be talking about a few different topics here tonight, guys. We're going to be talking about the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight. And, well, maybe not just that, but the stream as a whole, right? And then we're going to transition a little bit later. And we're going to start talking about the UFC fight, the big UFC fight from this past weekend. UFC 309, John Bones Jones versus Stipe Miocic. What happened during that, and why I was upset at the aftermath. And finally, we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns and what happened yesterday. So before we go ahead and get into all this, I know that this is a lot to digest. I know that it's a lot to maybe take in all at once. So go ahead, take a few minutes, like and comment on the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to give you guys great content and keep it going for you. So maybe we can improve the quality of our stream. I don't think it needs very much at all. Anthony is an absolute wizard behind this keyboard and mouse. So big shouts to Anthony. I'm going to push the air and maybe the applause will play. So I'm going to push the air. Sick. It worked. I can't believe it. It's like life's augmented reality now.
Yeah, it doesn't come out on stream as good as it sounds in your headphones.
It doesn't matter. It's still there, and that's all I really care about.
I appreciate it, bro.
So, but no, I appreciate you, Anthony. I appreciate you talking to me and giving me the green light to do this. I really want to thank you. I did a sports podcast in this area a few years ago, and I had left that. So I was a little hesitant to get back into sports podcasting ever. And if it wasn't for you, I would have never even brought it up in my head. So I really want to thank you, and I can't wait to see where this takes you and I.
Love you, Tom.
What was that?
Love you, Tom.
I love you too.
You'll do great, brother.
We'll do great. We'll do great because
I know I'll do great.
I know you will.
You'll do great too.
Listen, we were literally getting ready for the show, and Anthony is a very, I'd say, perfectionist when it comes to framing a shot. And he gets me perfect in the middle of the shot, and then he notices that the tip of his pinky finger is still in the shot at some point. So the man just pivots me to an area I've never sat in on this show. And he's sitting behind. It looks badass back there. I think it's pretty cool. It's a new little direction there. So that's really cool. I really appreciate it, brother. So, all right, let's get into it. So last Friday, so that would have been today's the 18th, so 15th, Netflix put out a stream, and the stream was the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. And there were a lot of great fights on that night as well. Manuel Barrios fought. Katie Taylor fought Amanda Serrano. I think I'm saying all that right. I really listened to how they rolled the R's there. And then there were a couple other mid-card fights, and then it was Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. And the one thing that, there were two things, actually. Three things that pissed me off about that entire card and that entire night. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, the first thing that pissed me off about this whole thing, and it wasn't the first thing that I noticed, but if I'm ranking them in order of the things that pissed me off, number one might surprise you. I was very pissed that everyone came for Katie Taylor the way that they did during that fight, after that fight. Katie Taylor controversially beat Amanda Serrano. 95-94, I think, was the card. Am I right, Anthony? It was 95-94?
Yes.
All right. They're saying that she got a point deduction. She kept leading with her head. She kept doing this. She kept doing that. Well, first things first, shout out to Amanda Serrano for absolutely being a dog during that fight and landing as many shots as she did. She was absolutely prolific, and I think that she showed a lot of heroism by going up, I think it was 4 weight classes to fight Katie Taylor, who many believe is the greatest women's boxer that there is right now. And then a lot of people were saying that Katie Taylor kept leading with her head, and she was headbutting Amanda Serrano, and it fucked her up, and it was stupid that she won. And I don't believe that's the case. Katie Taylor absolutely led with her head a few times, but Katie Taylor does it every fight, right? She keeps doing it. So it's like when you were a little kid, you kept doing something even if someone was telling you not to, like maybe an authority figure, that kind of thing, but they never actually made you stop, right? She can still get away with doing what she's doing, and she didn't win because she was headbutting Amanda Serrano. She won because she absolutely displayed a fucking masterclass at technical boxing despite the leading with the head. Katie Taylor wasn't even really marked up. I understand that Amanda Serrano threw 100 more punches than her, but I mean, to throw allegedly 100 more punches and not even really have a substantial mark on your face, that's actually pretty astounding. So how many of those hits actually mattered, you know? And then at the end of the fight, Katie Taylor's not being cocky. She's not being an asshole. She's just legitimately happy that she won and that she remains the champion. And then Amanda Serrano comes over and she kind of hugs her and good job, everything. And then proceeds to just rip Katie Taylor apart for what felt like 10 minutes. And then I think her trainer or promoter or someone came on and started talking shit too. He was talking shit during the fight, very loudly and publicly that I heard. And, oh, she's a dirty fighter. She's a beautiful person, but she's a dirty fighter. And we're going back to Puerto Rico tomorrow. And this is for her dad. And like, dude, like, stop talking, man. Like, that dude definitely tried to make it about Amanda Serrano, but he was making it all about himself by the way that he was acting. I felt like he was acting very uncouth and in poor taste. Like, he wasn't letting Amanda Serrano say what she needed to say. Katie Taylor, and I think Anthony's going to pull up the scorecard here. And I mean, Katie Taylor's a fucking dog, man. I've heard of Katie Taylor before. I've never seen her fight. I'm more of a women's UFC type fighter, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit too. But it was crazy to me. I heard it was a super off-color joke, and it was from a buddy of mine, and I love this dude, and he means nothing by it when he says it, but Netflix was really fucking shitty that entire night leading up to the Tyson Jake Paul fight. And my buddy texts me and he goes, "Hey, are you back to crystal clear quality?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Figures it would happen when the women's fight's about to happen." Basically implying, the women's fight was not interesting a lot of people, so they were going to go out. But what happened was this fight, these two girls didn't quit the entire night. They just kept going and going and going and going, rocking each other back and forth. And that truly was, in my opinion, the main event of the night. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano put on the best show I have seen in boxing, period, in the past 7 years. I haven't seen a boxing fight that's even remotely interested me since Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather Jr. And that wasn't even a real boxing match. I mean, I did like the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fights. Those were good, but it wasn't that level of hype for me because I'm not really a boxing fan. I like boxing, but I'm not a boxing fan. And I'm more intrigued by these so-called celebrity fights that happen, right? And this Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight was 100% that. It was a celebrity fight. And there was a lot of pageantry leading up to this fight, right? Punctuated by the display from the night before. And Anthony, I think we have that queued up. What did the 5 fingers say to the face type clip? So while Anthony pulls that up there, boxers always go and do their weigh-ins, their stare downs, and some crazy stuff happened at the weigh-ins. And it was pretty awesome to see because this is the most life I think one of our competitors showed for the next 48 hours. So Anthony, if you could go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen,
that was crazy. So allegedly what happened is that Jake Paul stepped on Mike Tyson's toe, and Tyson didn't have anything but like socks on, and Jake Paul had his shoes on. So I mean, that's a deliberate slap in the face right there, proverbially and physically. So that was freaking crazy that happened. I didn't expect to see that because Mike Tyson was showing a lot of life in YouTube videos and training videos, but he wasn't showing a lot of speed in the weigh-in, except for right then. And he wasn't particularly fast in the fight. It was really sad to see. I was texting a buddy of mine during the fight, and I said, I grew up hearing from my mom and dad how amazing Mike Tyson was as a boxer. And then I watched him for a little bit. And the last time I saw him fight in an actual fight that wasn't like a celebrity fight was 2003 that he won. And that was Killer Mike Tyson. That was Iron Mike. And then I'm watching him do these interviews, and I'm watching him do his weigh-in. And he seemed really sad during all of that. Like, they asked him something, and he goes, "This is just to prove my children think I'm a nobody, but they're going to see their dad's a somebody." And then there was a little girl interviewing him, and he says, "Who cares about legacy? We're all going to die anyway." And that was just real, like, kind of jarring. And then I see him get into the ring, and he's walking out, man. And there was no pageantry around him. There was nothing around him. It was just Mike Tyson walking. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, what's going on? He seemed sad. He seemed like really sad. And then he got in the ring, and he's looking at his opponent. He's looking at Jake Paul. And he's looking at the ref, and all of a sudden his eyes go down, and he starts looking at the ground. And that's not the Mike Tyson I knew growing up. The Mike Tyson I knew growing up, there was a famous fight against a guy named Frank Bruno, I think his name was. And famously, Tyson is following this dude with his eyes the entire time. If he turned his right shoulder, Tyson was looking at the right shoulder, like before the bell even rung. And it was like a predator watching his prey. And I just saw someone who looked sad and like something was wrong. Like maybe upstairs mentally with his mental, right? And then he starts boxing, and him moving in the ring was slower than the fucking buffing speed that Netflix had going on that night. Netflix was absolutely atrocious, by the way, that night, and I'll go over that in a minute. But he was so slow. And whoever the fucking commentators were, that was the most dog shit commentary crew I've ever seen. Who the fuck bills this as the fight of the year, fight of the century, fight of the decade, whatever they bill it as, right? And they have Rosie Perez, who is just like, oh, why was she there? Because she likes boxing and she boxes once a week. Well, I don't get invited to the fucking Masters to commentate. I like golf, and I golf once a week in the summertime. If that's the case, they should probably fucking invite me to do the Masters. I mean, it only seems fair, because Rosie Perez fucking sucked. And I think it was like Roy Jones Jr., I think that was the one of the other commentators, and he just kept saying, I don't like his legs. I don't like his legs at all. I don't like that he's biting his gloves. There's something wrong. I don't like how he's biting his gloves at all. He said it for 95% of the fucking fight, and it was just frustrating as shit, and I was getting so annoyed. But then I go and watch the replay of it. I didn't like Mike's legs either during the fight. I ascertained, man, like, that shit, he was a brick wall. And I think he was so pumped for this fight, and he was so excited to see what he could do, because he was getting back in the ring and he felt alive again. And he felt like his life had a purpose again. Because in one interview he says, like, I'm crying because I miss that person I used to be. And if I ever do let him out, all hell's going to come with him. And I think he was psyched to become that person again through all that training, all those montages and the interviews and stuff leading up to it. And then when he gets there and he gets into the moment, he just realized, like, this isn't me anymore. This isn't who I'm meant to be anymore. And I think that that was a big thing that happened during that fight. I think that subconsciously, I think that Mike Tyson just wanted to prove to himself he could still do it. I think that he thought, if I can train that hard and I can be that person again, I can go out there and I can win. And then it became immediately apparent that he's 60 years old almost, fighting a 27-year-old in the not in the prime of his boxing career, but in the prime of his life in general. He is absolutely winning at every single thing in life, this Jake Paul kid. Hate him or fucking love him. And I think he realized, I don't really stand a chance. And I think he tried, but I think a lot of the things going on with his legs was more psychological than anything. I think he was just so apprehensive to let that beast out again that something happened and went wrong and he didn't know what to do anymore. But let's not... Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the speed of the fight. And I'm not talking about how fast it was over or how long it took. I'm talking about the Netflix stream speed. And Anthony and I actually, it was actually really weird because Anthony hasn't texted me about a sporting event in probably 10 years. So that was real wild. That was real cool. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, baby. The cut's going to sports because he's talking sports with me now. I was pumped as shit, bro. But it kept buffering. It kept going like 2008 Netflix streaming in your college dorm quality, where it took 13 minutes from when you clicked stream on Nick and Nora's Infinite playlist that it would finally start playing a little bit. And it was real funny because a lot of people were posting like, oh man, my fucking internet went out. Well, like a real simple test, guys. If you don't know, if you think your internet went down while you're watching Netflix and it's a big streaming event like that was, just look at your phone and look at the Wi-Fi symbol and see if it's there. That'll tell you if you're connected to Wi-Fi. That'll tell you if you still have Wi-Fi. It wasn't your Wi-Fi. It wasn't anything like that. It was that Netflix was simply unprepared. I truly feel Netflix was so confident in themselves that they could put this product out seamlessly that it massively failed until the very end when they got their shit together. Now, if you're going to promote something this big, the greatest boxer of all time versus one of the most polarizing figures in the boxing world, one of the most popular human beings in social media in the world, as a boxing event, and you are going to hold the exclusive streaming rights to it, not ESPN Plus, not DAZN, not pay-per-view, not Peacock, none of those giants in the streaming industry that do sporting events. It's going to be you, Netflix, who has never hosted a live sports stream before. You need to be more than confident. I remember when I was young and I was doing homework, my dad would tell me, double check your math. Triple check your math, and you can't get up and go watch Dragon Ball Z or whatever the fuck you want to do until you do that, right? So I double and triple check like I was told to. I don't think Netflix double or triple checked. I think that they checked, and even if they did double or triple check, they needed to do it a quadruple, quintuple. This thing needed to go off without a hitch, because now what happens is you're going to be hosting WWE Raw on Monday nights starting at the beginning of January. Not only are you doing that, you have an NFL game coming to Netflix. Not only that, there's rumors of NBA games coming to Netflix. Not only that, there's rumors of PGA events coming to Netflix. Those certain events will command an army of streamers coming to your stream. For the Christmas Day game, let's say. The Christmas Day game, I believe, is the Chiefs and Steelers. I'm almost positive. Your shit needs to be crisp and clear and perfect. Because if it's not, these major players in the in all of media, the NFL, the Boxing Commission, Tuffy, whatever it's called, that owns TKO, whatever owns WWE and UFC, because the WWE is owned by UFC now. So they're going to be watching, right? They cannot have their investments look bad. And what Netflix did on Saturday or Friday night wasn't up to the standard that it should have been. It needed to be perfect. And I understand that is a lot to ask for. And there are certain times and certain situations where things cannot be perfect. But if you are hosting this event, I'm paying $30 a month to Netflix to be able to watch at my house, and I pay for my mother to watch Netflix at her house. You're getting $30 out of me. How many other people are paying that $30? I understand you have to pay royalties. I understand you have to pay the people who are part of the Netflix studios that are making this original content, because that's not free, right? But it behooves you to set some of that money aside, because you know that you're going to be breaking into the live sports world eventually, and that's exactly what they did Friday night. And I don't think it was a very successful break-in to the live sports world. I personally do not want to see another Netflix ran boxing event until they iron the kinks out. But the way I feel about that is not the way that I believe it was Roy Jones Jr. feels about seeing Mike Tyson fight again. And I kind of agree with him. Anthony, pull it up. See, it was Sugar Ray Leonard, excuse me. So the way Sugar Ray Leonard feels about another Tyson fight is how I feel. So Sugar Ray, take her away.
Fight. What do you think of the fight?
Jake!
It was disappointing. Would you like to see it again? Would you like to see it? Would you like to see Mike Tyson fight again in the ring, an exhibition match against Brandon Holyfield?
I always want to see Mike fight.
Yeah. Is this kind of what you expected?
He didn't get off fast.
What could he done different? Did Jake Paul look a little bit slow to you? Ray Leonard.
So Sugar Ray feels the exact way I feel. I always like to see Mike in the ring, man. That's dope. But it was a disappointing fight because I don't think that Mike was completely sold on himself. And I think that Jake Paul, for everything he is a legitimate boxer. Mike Tyson is the only person that Jake Paul has not knocked out or knocked down. And that's fucking saying something. I think that is very impressive. Very impressive that he didn't get knocked down. So hats off to Mike. Hats off to him, man. He did a great job, proving to people that at 58 years old, you can still do stuff, man. You're not dead. You're not dead. But let's not I want to give a shout out to Mike Tyson's fist, but I also want to give a shout out to Mike Tyson's cakes, dog. I mean, that man is caked up. Anthony, there's a GIF that you just had loaded. Throw that up on the screen. I need the people to see that. There was some cake right there, and that was Tyson. Did you know that was his son that he was interviewing? Or that was interviewing him?
I did not.
Supposedly that was his son, and that's why he gave him a kiss and said, "I love you," and then walked away. But Tyson's cheeks won that night too, man. Like, he was caked up from the feet up. It was beautiful to see. But I mean, I really want to know what you guys think before we transition into the new topic here. What did you think about the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight? Did you enjoy it? Did you watch the whole thing? Did you just wait until you heard about it at the water cooler the next day? God damn, look at that ass. It's beautiful. So before I transition into the next topic, go ahead and like and comment on the video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to bring you great content that you guys are always looking for. So the next bit of content I want to talk about is the UFC fight, UFC 309, John Bones Jones versus Stipe Miocic. And I was super excited going into this fight because Stipe, being from Cleveland, we're from Ohio here. I really love watching Stipe Miocic fight. He's 42 years old right now. He's a 2-time heavyweight champion. He's one of the greatest of all time. One of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Going up against John Bones Jones, another amazing heavyweight. And Bones Jones, he's gotten into some trouble over the years. He likes that booger sugar, allegedly. And it's caused him to have to get some fights moved around. And maybe having to withdraw for some fights or being disqualified for some fights, not being allowed to go. So there's always that thought when Bones Jones is scheduled to fight that it's not going to happen. But, you know, I was at work and I was talking with my coworker who's really into UFC, and he was like, yo, listen, man, like, I'm excited for that fight. And I said, hey, man, it could still get called off. And I was skeptical it was even going to happen until they walked out. And they walk out. The fights from the night were absolutely prolific. The entire prelims were great, and the main card was great. I don't remember a lot of it because I was hammered. I was turned. But I did sober up so I could watch the Stipe fight because I wanted to see it. I wanted to remember it. And, it didn't really go to plan for me, man. I was kind of gutted. And that just shows how prolific of a fighter John Bones Jones is. Stipe Miocic famously has one of the hardest chins in UFC. That man is going to take a punch, and he did. He took punch after punch after punch and was submitted a few times and was on the ground just getting elbowed and ripped apart, bro. But he kept getting up, and I kept saying to myself, okay, if he can just get Bones tired, if he can just last just a bit longer, he'll win this fight, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Well, it wasn't fine. Anthony, played the tape for the people.
To the body by John. Oh, we heard him back. He heard him back. That's it. To the body by John. Oh, we heard him back. He heard him back. That's it. To the body by John.
Crazy. He crumpled him. He did as a spinning back kick, crumples him to the ground, gets on top, exactly what he's supposed to do, and start pounding him to knock him out and deliver the final fucking blow, man. Deliver that final blow. Keep going till you hear that whistle, right? We're all taught that from a very young age. Keep going till you hear that fucking whistle. And that's what Bones did. And it was amazing to see because, like I said, Stipe is probably my favorite heavyweight of all time, outside of maybe Derek Lewis, who's just the memes. I like Derek Lewis for the memes. And I am a Lesnar guy. I think that Lesnar was a great fighter. And there's a couple other. Daniel Cormier. I really like Daniel Cormier. I loved when Conor McGregor called him a ghetto hillbilly. That was hilarious. But I've always just thought Stipe has just always had a special place in my heart because he's from Cleveland. Well, the Cleveland area. And he's very proud about his heritage in Cleveland, and he's very proud to be Croatian. And it's really nice to see. It's really nice to see. And there's something that happened on Saturday night with this fight that really upset me in the aftermath. And I felt the need to talk about it. Bones Jones, is getting interviewed by Rogan, and Rogan's giving him his flowers, and he should, because, you know, that's what Joe Rogan is paid to do with UFC. He is paid to go out there and interview these people. Well, President Trump is in attendance, which was awesome. That was cool. He comes out to a huge ovation. He's doing his fucking thing. And when Stipe's done, he does the little Trump dance. You know what I mean? That's funny. I like that. But after Rogan was done interviewing Bones Jones, he goes over to Stipe and he asks Stipe, is this it for you? And Anthony, we have the answer to that if you want to pull that up. What Stipe said to Joe Rogan about if he's done. All right. Here it comes.
I'm done. I'm hanging them up. I'm retiring. Thank God.
Well, Stipe, you've had an incredible career. You're the most accomplished heavyweight of all time. It's been an amazing ride, and thank you for everything. Thank you. Stipe!
I'm done.
All right, so Stipe Miocic, one of the best fighters of all time, retired. That is earth-shattering fucking news. That man is going to retire. That is earth-shattering news for the UFC. That he will be leaving the division, which opens up a lot of seats or shoes to be filled in that division, because Stipe, even though he wasn't fighting a lot, was still a formidable presence and a highly decorated veteran in the UFC. Immediately after Stipe walks out of the ring, instead of talking about him and maybe asking Bones Jones about him and, you know, giving Stipe his flowers, which is what you should do when a man of his caliber retired, this happened. John Bones Jones does the Trump dance, points to Trump, goes right over to Trump, and then a little bit later after that, Stipe gets out of the cage and gives Donald Trump his belt. And I was with a group of people, and the girlfriends are like, "Aw," and I'm like, I'm thinking they're talking about Stipe. Immediately, they just started talking about Donald Trump and how respected he is and how great it is that he's at this UFC event and how much people love him and all of that. And that's all true. That is all 100% true, guys. I'm not taking away from President Trump being there and taking time out of his evening to be at a UFC fight and acknowledging the new champion and everything like that. But guys, we are now living in a world where Stipe Miocic is no longer fighting. That is the equivalent, if you guys don't watch UFC, that is the equivalent of saying like Tom Brady and Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers are playing against each other in the Super Bowl. Brady wins, Brady being Bones Jones, and Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees is Stipe, and they say after the Super Bowl, after they lose, they're retiring and they're hanging him up.
Tom, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Would Stipe have retired if he would have won?
He absolutely would have. I don't think there's a No, actually, you know what? I don't think he would have. I would think he would have taken the Tom Aspinall fight, because that's who Bones Jones has to fight next, is Tom Aspinall. And then I think he would have mopped the floor with Aspinall, because it would have been by June of 2025 he would have fought him. And then it would have opened up Bones Jones versus Stipe one last time. And then I think Bones Jones mops the floor with him and retires Stipe. So either way, Miocic is being sent home by Bones Jones, no matter what way you cut it. And that's a fantastic question. Thank you so much, because I've actually thought about that. But I was very upset about how that all went down, because if Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers lose the Super Bowl to Tom Brady and they say they're retiring, you're damn right they're going to be talking about them and everything they meant to the sport and how wonderful it was to see them in this big event one last time. But they didn't even do that for Stipe. There was nothing, there were no flowers given. I'm not a big believer in giving people their flowers when they die. I'm a believer in giving people their flowers while they're alive. And what I mean by that, not even proverbially dead, but retired, that kind of thing. I believe that I believe you need to give people credit when they're great, or even if they're not great, if they're just trying their damnedest. You just need to keep giving them their flowers, because this life is hard, and it's probably really hard to be a fucking UFC fighter and give your all to that sport for years on end, and then just to get a goodbye, and then they go over to Bones Jones and he's giving the title to Trump, and everyone's like, oh, look at how great this is. Look at how great of a guy these guys are. That's all well and good, but do that after we maybe have a proverbial, not literal, but proverbial moment of silence for Stipe. Let's just do it. Let's just give him a proverbial moment of silence. What do you got up here?
Apparently, this is back in October.
This is on Halloween.
Yeah, on Halloween, Jake.
Is that fucking Ricky Bobby?
Jake Paul, aka Ricky Bobby.
For everything.
Looks like he asked Stipe if he's going to be retiring after
What'd he say?
the John Jones fight. Well,
Let's find out.
Steve, you've had an incredible career. You're the most accomplished heavyweight of all time. It's been
Hold
an
on.
amazing
We're still
ride.
playing somewhere
Thank
else.
you for everything.
Oh, we're here. All right, let's go back. Have I been playing the whole time?
Yeah.
No. All right, we're good.
All right.
All right. Yeah. Here, let's.
Let's see what he had to say.
Is this your last fight regardless of the outcome?
I don't know, man. I say it every time. After every fight, I think about retiring. So, we'll see. Right now, I'm just going to worry about the fight. I'm not going to worry about it after it until it happens.
Is this your last fight regardless of the outcome?
He didn't really give an indication.
No, but I mean, he said he thinks about it after every fight. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think about quitting selling cars every time I sell a car. I mean, doesn't mean I'm going to. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think that it's just sad though that we didn't give Stipe his flowers when he deserved them. He's a very accomplished UFC fighter. He's a very good person. He's a firefighter. He's a dad. He's a philanthropist. He's a proud member of the Cleveland community, and he's a proud member of the UFC community. And I just want to give my literal hats off to Stipe Miocic and hey, it was a Cleveland Indians hat too. So Cleveland, thank you for a great career, and thank you for letting us watch you. We really appreciate it. And congratulations to John Bones Jones, man. I mean, that was a spinning back kick from the depths of fucking hell on Stipe Miocic. Just fucking crumpled him, man. I can't believe that shit happened. That was wild. And I'm really blessed that I was able to watch that fight. But there were some other fights on that night that were absolutely fucking insane. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. I thought that Michael Chandler was about to die in the first round. He got rocked so fucking hard. I thought he was going to die. And then he little fucking weasel, little fucking snake. That's what Michael Chandler is. That's what he does. This is who he's always been. He finds a way to get out of there. He finds a way to get out of being on the ground and getting his fucking shit pushed in and fight back. And I thought he had Charles Oliveira towards the end of one of the final rounds that they fought because he was advancing on him pretty fucking heavily. And Oliveira looked even more Nightmare Before Christmas-ish than before with the sunken in eyes. They were turning black and blue, man. Chandler doesn't end up winning. It is Charles Oliveira. It was a great fight. I really want to see where Oliveira goes next, and I want to see if Michael Chandler is going to get his Conor McGregor fight that he so desperately wants. I mean, he has been talking about that for over 2 years now, and it's unfortunate because Conor was supposed to fight him, and then Conor gets popped for roids, and then he has another injury, and it's just wild. Like, I think McGregor's ducking him, and Conor's my favorite UFC fighter of all time. Might be one of my favorite athletes ever. I hate that it's happening this way, but I would love to see Michael Chandler fight him in the future, and I cannot wait to see if Bones Jones fights Tom Aspinall next. I think that is going to be a clash of titans, and it's going to be something that I think no one's ever going to forget, because whoever loses that fight is probably going to die. Those guys are tough motherfuckers. I mean, fun fact, Anthony, did you know that John Bones Jones has two brothers that are both NFL Pro Bowlers, and one of them is probably going to the Hall of Fame?
Negative.
His brothers are Chandler and Arthur Jones. Chandler played for the Baltimore Ravens Arthur played for the Baltimore Ravens for a little bit, and Chandler played for the Arizona Cardinals for quite some time. I've often wondered, you got three big ass kids like that growing up. Like, how does a mom break a fight up like that? You know what I mean? Like, if those kids are scrapping, how do you even get in the? I just don't think you do. I just think you let them go and do their fucking thing. But hey, just to recap a little bit, Stipe got knocked the fuck out. John Bones Jones continues his reign of terror on the UFC. Michael Chandler, the little weasel, doesn't get knocked out necessarily, but he does live to see another day. But Charles Oliveira gets the win, which is nice. And we're gonna finish up here with our final topic of the evening, the Cleveland Browns. But before I get to that, make sure you go ahead and like and comment on the video, share the video, and then subscribe to the feed so I can continue to give you the sports knowledge, and Anthony can keep producing at an amazingly high level, and we can keep doing this every week. So last topic of the day, the Browns. I wish that I had just like a sad face I could put over myself, because they fucking suck. I'm pulling up a box score here real quick. Cleveland Browns lose 35-14, despite a 30 for 46 passing performance for 395 yards and 2 touchdowns from Jameis Winston, and Jerry Jeudy going absolutely the fuck off yesterday. 6 catches for 142 yards and a tutty. That was insane. And they only score 14 points because this Browns offensive line is so fucking bad, it makes me want to throw up. This offensive line is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I think the high schools in Ashtabula could take their best offensive linemen, one from each team, so you got 5 of them, send them out to the fucking Browns field, and they'd do a better job in pass and run blocking than these fucking clowns are right now. And it starts with, it's the same offensive line from last year, but there's one major difference, and that's the departure of Bill Callahan to go to the Tennessee Titans to serve as a coordinator for his son, who got hired as the head coach down there this past offseason. We cannot dispute now that there is a absolutely horrible need for the Cleveland Browns to invest not only in a new offensive lineman or two, because a couple of them are aging, but that's not the problem. It's because we don't have a legitimate fucking offensive line coach that can get in there and take us to being an elite unit again. Okay? Jedrick Wills, dog shit. Get him off our team. Joel Bitonio is old enough to be my father, but he's still producing at a high level. Ethan Posick is kind of hurt often. Wyatt Teller, I'm giving him a pass because he sent my little boy a Christmas card a couple years ago, which was dope. And Jack Conklin doesn't have actual fucking knees anymore. He has Costco drumsticks put in, and they're acting like knees right now. That's a whole thing. That's a real thing. I didn't say that. That's what they tell me. But I think it's real. Okay? We are getting absolutely outclassed every game. And a fun stat from yesterday, Nick Chubb had 11 carries for 50 yards. Jerome Ford had 5 touches for 10 yards. Jameis Winston 1 for 8. And Pierre Strong 2 for 5. So we're going to add that up. That's 18 total touches and 71 total yards. So if we're doing that, that is a 3.9 yard per carry, which is respectable. Respectable 3.9. But there's no reason we shouldn't be into the mid 4s for yards per carry at all. This unit should be averaging 4.5 to 4.8 yards per carry on the ground. I am a staunch believer in that, and that's the minimum. Okay? Nick Chubb is looking pedestrian, and it's sad because Nick Chubb is a top 3 running back in the NFL when he's healthy. And I don't want to hear about the injury because Christian McCaffrey just came back from a devastating knee injury that he suffered. He's back early, and he's fucking producing at an elite level again. It's like he never left. So my biggest thing right now, and it might be sacrilegious to say this, but I think you move on from Nick Chubb this offseason. His contract is up. We don't have the luxury like we had years before Deshaun Watson got here, where we could pay our guys to stay a little bit more if they were a fan favorite or something. And Nick Chubb doesn't owe us anything to take a hometown discount. That man should be allowed to go where he wants, and he should be allowed to sign a big deal that we cannot match. There are wholesale changes coming in Cleveland after this loss. I guarantee it. We are watching the implosion of a team that went 11-6 last year, I believe, with 5 different starting quarterbacks. And now we are 2-7. That's or 2-8, I believe. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's painful to watch. It's like you turn on another game, guys, and it's like I'm watching a completely different sport. It's like I'm watching the Browns, and they're playing elementary school football, and then you go on and you turn on literally any other team, and they are playing grown man football. And it blows my mind that I have to say that, because on paper, this is a very good team. It's a great team. I'm not saying it's an elite team, but it's a team that can make some fucking noise. But we don't have the leadership in place to do that. And I don't think Kevin Stefanski's a bad coach. And this is going to be a topic that's going to be ad nauseum from now until next August, I'm sure. But Mary Kay Cabot, who's a pretty plugged in reporter with the Cleveland Browns, she said there's a rumor floating around right now that if the Steelers come to town this Thursday and they beat us, Kevin Stefanski's out. And they're promoting Mike Vrabel, who's he's not even on the coaching staff, guys. He's a consultant. He just goes over game plans and stuff. He's not even in the fucking inner circle half the time, I don't think. And that really kind of makes sense to me, though, because I thought it was weird at the beginning of the year when we announced that we're signing Mike Vrabel. I mean, he was the Tennessee Titans head coach. He was up for numerous head coaching jobs in college. There's rumors that if Ryan Day doesn't beat the Michigan Wolverines this year, that Mike Vrabel, an Ohio State legend, could come and take the reins at Ohio State. I think this was always the plan. I think that Jimmy Haslam went and got Deshaun Watson thinking that Deshaun was going to be his answer to all of his problems, and Andrew Berry was on board, but Kevin Stefanski wasn't. Right? And I think that Stefanski's being punished for not being on board with the Deshaun Watson situation. I don't think that Stefanski had any balls. I think if he had balls, he's not stupid. He wants to win football games. He's been around great quarterbacks for his coaching career. He had Kirk Cousins. He had Case Keenum. He had Baker Mayfield. He's had the corpse of Deshaun Watson. He reinvigorated Joe Flacco's career. Make no mistake, Joe Flacco would still be at home on the couch if Kevin Stefanski didn't call him up and say, hey, come run my offense for 7 weeks. Right? It's an absolute shit show. And I think Stefanski wasn't down with some things, and they hired Vrabel, a Cleveland legend, from the Cleveland area. And hey, man, if he fucks up anymore, this is your team. And I think that that's seriously how it could go down. And we're going to see. We are going to see. I think it is absolutely apparent that the team quit on Kevin Stefanski this week, maybe even last game against the Chargers, when Jameis Winston's throwing for almost 400 yards and 2 touchdowns and no fucking interceptions, which is the biggest knock on Jameis Winston, is his inaccuracy and incompletions. When he throws an almost perfect game and doesn't throw an interception and you lose that, and not just lose, you lose 14-35. That's insane. I think the Browns quit on him yesterday, and I think that ownership quit on the Browns fans and organization after week 1's horrid loss. And the fandom of Cleveland doesn't deserve that. The hype level for this year was through the roof. The anticipation for getting out, and then you just lay the dud that you do against Dallas. That's okay. The next week we came out, we ended up winning. I mean, so there was some hype, but now it's just a hopeless game every time you fucking tune into a Browns game. And for 4 of the next 6 weeks, Browns games are going to be nationally televised. So that's fucking sad and scary. I mean, the world is going to see how shitty this team actually fucking is. And that scares me, dude. I have a lot about the Cleveland Browns that we're going to go over as we make this transition. I have a lot to say about the Cavs. We're going to have some spring training previews. We might even get weird some nights and talk about WWE and their pay-per-views and where I can see some shit going. You better believe when the Masters comes, we're going to be talking golf. Anthony's going to be going golfing with us one day, maybe filming us. Maybe putting some content out there. Maybe be some golf content creators. You know how they have the good golf channel? Well, we're going to be bad. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be sick. But that's it for me tonight, guys. I want to thank you for taking this journey with Anthony and I for the last couple years. And now I'm really excited to have announced this to you tonight. Our transition into a full-time sports channel that will be airing once a week here right on the cut. I'm Tom Roth. That's Anthony Aquendo. We are the cut. We're going to be a little bit different, but we're still the same guys. You guys have a beautiful Monday night, and I can't wait to talk sports with you next Monday. See you later.